Where do you see progress being made currently? Maybe we start with Brad?
I get asked this question a lot, and a lot of conversations that I end up with, because of how the world is and because of social media and communications and information, we're seeing a lot of negativity and struggle. So I end up in conversations a lot where people are they are disconnected, they're feeling upset, they're scared, they feel that the world is going in a bad direction. But I am honoured and privileged to be part of communities where I get a front row seat to young people changing the world. I'm a proud recipient of the Diana Award and part of the Diana Award community, which is a global community, and seeing young people being awarded for their work, their volunteering, their innovation and entrepreneurialism when it comes to combating big challenges that we've discussed. And communities like the Queen's Commonwealth Trust, again, an international community of young leaders that are pioneering and changing their communities. So every time I feel that the world is going in a bad direction, I just remind myself that I'm part and blessed to be part of these communities, and blessed to have opportunities like this where I get to meet people who are really changing things. And that's what kind of cheers me up and it keeps me positive. And I think that's really where the change is happening. It's on the ground in communities.
Thank you. And over to Kakashan. Where do you see progress being made?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I agree with Brad that our world, the general narrative is that, there's a lot of negativity being propagated. And the sad thing is that change is already happening, has been happening for years. It's been led by young people and women, primarily from the global south. But the thing is, the media and the Western media just picks up on the flashiest things, picks up on the problems, and kind of puts forth this kind of doomsday approach without putting forward the positive solutions that are actually being affected on the ground every single day. And that at Green Hope Foundation, we work to make sure that these solutions are implemented and that people know that there is a way out of this dark web that we're currently in. And so, yeah, I'd be happy to share some of those positive ground level actions. You mentioned earlier, Safi, that we work with over 225,000 people in 25 countries. So we work to really bring about that behavioral change through academies that are conducted by young people, for resilience building, through skills-based learning on adaptation techniques, empowering women and young farmers to practice climate-smart agriculture, where we've installed solar irrigation systems, training them on organic farming and composting. We've started sewing schools in extremely conservative villages and climate vulnerable areas during this pandemic to ensure that women and girls have a stable source of income so that they can send the girls to our solar powered schools where we give them resilience education and really ensuring that there are safe spaces for women and girls everywhere. So that includes building toilets so that girls feel safe going to school, safe from the threat of sexual harassment. We've installed deep-bore tube balls to provide communities with clean drinking water. And, someone mentioned earlier about social media and how amazing technology has been, but in so many parts of the world, probably like half the world not connected to the digital space at all, because there's this digital divide that has just been amplified during the pandemic. So we've installed routers in homes to ensure that children can connect. And of course, we've seen that during the pandemic, there are so many children who've dropped out of school permanently due to the pandemic, as well as due to climate change-induced disasters. So our solar-powered mobile libraries are now taking books directly to the doorstep of over 250,000 children across Asia and Africa. And these are just some of the examples of the work that is being done every single day. And as I speak, even to really affect that change on the ground, and it's high time that the positive aspect and the solutions that are on the ground every day are also promoted so that people know that change is possible and that progress is being made.
Thank you there, Kakashan. And over to Vihan and Nav, please.
Yeah, and we definitely agree with what Brad and Kekashan has said so far. And since we've started One Step Greener, and it's been about 4 years as of now, we've been exposed to so many communities, obviously nationally, internationally as well. And I have got to see people my age, younger than me, for that matter. And I was 14 when they started, and I was 11, and we saw children who were 6, 7 actually be proactive and do something with their lives and understand that it is within their hands to actually solve it. So, for example, there was a 4-year-old, and I know this is a very small example, but a 4-year-old who decided that he didn't want to give his birthday money to buy gifts. Like, he didn't want to spend his money to buy gifts, and he inspired his whole school and a lot of kids along with him to actually donate to foundations and NGOs that were actually working towards this. For example, an inventor in the Andamans who saw his mother and father struggling, and he's 16, by the way, saw his mother and father struggling farming, create sustainable tools, etc., that help them. So there's so many examples and so many communities that we've been able to see at the grassroots level that have really created a change that's just cascading. And I think in the next 10 years, yes, climate change will drastically deteriorate the atmosphere if it continues at the current rate, but in 10 years we'll also see all of these brilliant solutions really bloom, and all the result of the work that's been done so far, we'll get to see that. Yeah.
Thank you. So with COVID-19 and all the other difficulties we currently face in the world, where have you all been finding hope and inspiration? Let's start with Brad. Let's start with you.
Where do I find hope and inspiration? I find hope and inspiration in the fact that I have fortunately seen the world change as compared to, let's say, 10, 20 years ago. So I'm a proud gay man, and I live with my partner in London. I was diagnosed with cancer at 19 and then again at 24. And it's definitely given me a sense of hope that the world is changing. My life would have been completely different 20, 30, 40 years ago. And I'm seeing the perceptions of society change as well. So that gives me constant hope. This is a really brief answer because I'm living in change and I'm seeing other people live their best lives, their happy lives, they're living life who they are, who they love. And although there are challenges, there's still a long, long way to go, both in the UK, in Europe and around the world. But I think if going back to what was said originally, change happens in communities, and I'm seeing change happen in my community, whether it be my family accepting me when I came out of the closet, my friends accepting me when I came out, and me receiving incredible care from the NHS when I was diagnosed with cancer. And it did not matter who I was or who I loved. So I think that gives me constant hope. And it makes me more determined to give that to other people around the world. It's a privilege for me to live who I am. And I wish that other people had that privilege too. So that's what gives me hope and gives me determination.
Thank you, Brad. Let's move over to Kekashan.
Sure, thank you for the question. I think that acknowledging that the problems exist, I think that's half the battle. And really, for me, I find hope in every smile that we were able to bring back to a child's face. The Sustainable Development Goals give me hope that a better and more resilient future is possible. And, even COP26 emanated a lot of positives. I was representing Canada as a youth delegate, both in the Preparatory Youth Summit that was held in Milan and then in COP26 in Glasgow. And that was my 4th COP. I attended Doha, Lima, and Bonn summits. And I was really energized by the discussions around phasing out of coal as really opposed to the previous COPs. I sensed a marked change in understanding of nations and even amongst the world's worst polluters that the move to a circular economy has to be accelerated. And I'd also say that 2021 was a landmark year for the peace and disarmament process, because after years of lobbying, the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons officially came into force, making it the first legally binding international agreement to comprehensively prohibit nuclear weapons, with the ultimate goal being their total elimination. So I think it's really up to us now, and I say this especially as a young person, on how we capitalize on these and really move forward, showing ambition, not allowing ourselves to be used as tokenistic pawns, wherein, we're just relegated to people who are just shouting slogans or just marching on the streets or just blaming others while it's business as usual elsewhere. We as young people are the hope ourselves, and we are the generation that has the opportunity to change the discourse. Our actions going forward will determine whether or not history applauds us for our dynamism or holds us accountable for the degradation of planet and society. And I am an eternal optimist, so I say that, as young people, we can bring about that change, and we are bringing about that change every single day.
Thank you. Vihan and Nav now, please.
So, I feel during these COVID-19 times, I've seen the whole community, really work together and focus on goals and trying to achieve that. And, that really, that shows me that, if we really work together, we can definitely, bring about a really drastic change.
Yeah, and additionally, definitely we've seen so much continued support and actually increasing support for projects such as ours post the COVID-19 pandemic, during the COVID-19 pandemic. So, we've really seen a lot of support. And I think for me personally, what gives me most hope is the resilience of the young generation. So both of us being in school during COVID-19, not going to school, just recently starting school in person. For us, we've seen our friends go through really tough times with losing family members and their mental health and, losing all motivation. But what we've seen now is a renewed hope, a renewed sense of, just living one day at a time, and, compassion and so many different things that we didn't see before. And that gives us hope, because we see the young generation really take matters into their own hands. And we see so many of our friends who would never have thought about anything else but college or relationships, now go into activism and work towards really creating a change.
That is such an amazing insight. Thank you, everybody.